Hi all, welcome to the Comic Con India Pop Culture Forum 2020, the digital edition brought to you by Maruti Suzuki Arena. My name is Jatin and I'll be the host for the panel today. The Pop Culture Forum is our annual B2B conference that brings together the best and brightest in the pop culture industry, be it in publishing, gaming, entertainment, merchandising, retail, and more. It also plays host to the Comic Con India Industry Awards, which celebrates the best in Indian comics and pop culture. Usually, this event is held as an invite-only conference in Delhi as a live event. But thanks to the pandemic, we are now doing it digitally. And thanks to our partners in Maruti Suzuki Arena, we now bring you all our amazing panels with some of the best talent in the country on our social media channels. As you scroll through the playlist next to the video, you'll see the other curated panels, and you'll also see our interaction with the Comic Con India award winners, which is very exciting for us as well. Coming to the current panel, which is all about the business of pop culture, specifically licensed merchandising. Now, if you've ever been to a Comic Con show, you know the geeky shopping element is a very key part of the overall experience. And a big part of that is the licensed merchandise. Licensed merchandise lets us fans take home a part of our favorite fandom. It also lets us express our fandom and passion to our friends and colleagues around us. It could be your favorite Batman tee. It could be the cushion cover from Friends on your in your living room, or the GOT diary that you carry around in your meetings. Every year, millions of Indians spend millions and millions of rupees on amazing lineup of licensed merchandise. Now, as we go through the pandemic, we have come up with a lot of challenges, and we also have a few opportunities. To talk about this and more, we have two of the biggest names in licensed merchandising in India joining me. First up is Ameya Thakur. He's the founder of Red Wolf, one of the leading brands of licensed apparel in India. And next up is Siddharth Sood, who's the founder and CEO of Epic Stuff, which is the house for all your favorite pop culture accessories. Now, without further delay, let me add them onto the panel and start off. Thank you for joining me for this panel, the business of pop culture in times of COVID. It's going to be interesting. Let me start off with our first question, which is how has the past few months been for you and your team and the business overall? Let me start with you, Siddharth, because you've had quite an interesting journey because you also were afflicted with COVID. So that's also been part of your past few months as well. So why don't you tell us how it's been?
So when it started, we were fairly confident. I mean, we did the math and we were like, listen, this might actually be a good thing because people have to survive. So obviously online will kick in at some point. And also maybe 2 weeks or a month into COVID after March 23rd, only in India, Amazon came to a standstill. Everywhere else in the world, like I've got cousins and all, they're like, dude, we're living off Amazon and we've never spent so much money on Amazon and Amazon is the bomb. And especially in the US, Amazon was killing it. So we got very excited saying, okay, eventually I think online is going to kick in and that's the way contactless can happen in the near future. And eventually when the government tried reviving Amazon and online sales in general, I think there was a lot of pushback from shopkeepers associations and things like that. And then it became a political issue and then, well, even our dreams died. But once work began, I was very surprised that sales came back to more than 50%, 60% in like 2-3 days, which was very surprising because I thought demand would have just been crushed. So I think what we've realized is that India, because of its nature of Indian people to save, and also what we are doing, I can speak for Maya and myself, our ticket size is very nominal. We aren't selling 10,000 rupee products. Okay. Only Sahil does that and gets away with it. But okay, and he genuinely does. Okay. And of course, if Jenny would have been here, he would have given us a full thesis on how a 10,000 rupee product only works. Hum sab bevkoof hain. But our ticket sizes, Amaya, I think you'll agree, have really worked for us. You know, like
Sure.
a below 500 rupee ticket size is exactly the order of the day because it's not too expensive. Everybody even on reduced. So people have to live and they have to enjoy life and they have to celebrate and they have to feel good about themselves. And they've taken it up quite well. So I'm pretty confident that at least the online situation is going to be the backbone, just like it has been everywhere else in the world. So it's great being in that space. We're decimated retail-wise, but that's a different conversation.
And if I can just add to that, I also think that we cater to a slightly more premium / privileged
Yeah,
market. These are
yeah,
people
yeah, yeah,
who
yeah,
mainly watch English, Western pop culture.
yeah,
So, my average product sells for like 500 rupees. My cart size would be closer to like 1,000. That's not something that, someone who is going to think twice about when like they're trying to do that impulse purchase. So I
yeah.
think that's helped as well for sure.
So, how's it been for your teams as well? I mean, it's you're stuck at home. You can't. It's difficult to move out. How about you, Amaya? How's it been for you? How big is your team?
So we employ around 15 to 20 people. So we were completely shut when the nationwide lockdown was imposed. We were completely shut at the end of March and all through April. And then sometime around mid to end May is when we managed to start again, just because we started holding on to and like retailing essentials like masks. So that allowed us to like at least service some of like the orders that we were like picking up during the lockdown, because we made like a conscious decision to shut our cash on delivery orders, because it's very hard to then call those guys and like make sure that they actually want the product, whether we can service it and like the product is not going to get sent back to us, because at the end of the day money was tight and money was going to get caught up in those returns. So we consciously decided only to take prepaid orders, and once we started to restart and reopen, we could service those orders. And once we could send to green zones and orange zones, then business did start picking up, like Sid mentioned earlier.
Jatin, did you notice? Amaya just mentioned money was tight, not is tight. So since money was tight, next Comic Con you better sell him 5 stalls because it was tight. Now it's all good.
At this
I
point,
mean, at one point in time, I owed like so much money to like licensors, to vendors. We could have bought a couple of flats in Bombay. Yeah? So let me rephrase. Money was tight too. We just dug ourselves out of a very big hole.
no,
Oh my
I can
God.
imagine. I mean, cash flow is a problem for everyone right now in any business, especially because how do you generate revenue when demand is so low? And like you said, it's come back 50%, but that's still 50% of your regular
Yeah,
Yeah.
business.
yeah.
Let me quickly ask you, since you guys also are obviously paying license fees a lot, how has that relationship and adjustment been with license IP owners? Are they flexible now on what's going on? How are you guys managing that? Sid?
So I'm in constant touch with them. I got to give them full marks. They've really been supportive. And I think what this has made me really learn, na, Jatin, is that when you work with intelligent, educated people who understand the ground realities of life, then there is reason and rationale. And everybody from the IP side, has been very, very supportive. They've not put their foot down because it's a global pandemic. It's not like me waking up and saying, "Mujhe malaria ho gaya" or something like that. So they've been really supportive. Of all the people, I know Amaya would also agree or disagree with me. All the people, the one set of people who we owe money to, who have been the most understanding from day one, have been the licensees, the IP owners. And I think it's because even they are really worried, and justifiably so, because uh, I mean, अब मैं थोड़ी देसी भाषा में ही बोलता हूँ, वो हवा के पैसे लेते हैं. ओके ओके तो अब अगर हवा ही बदल जाएगी तो फिर कुछ भी नहीं बचा ना. If the business only shuts down, then it's game over. So they are the most vulnerable, because at the end of the day, I can just shut shop and say, dude, I'm not doing this for 1 year. I don't need to do this. Okay, whatever it is what it is, and then we'll discuss it after 1 year. So I mean, as candid as I am, they've really been supportive, and I think it's my responsibility to support them back for that cause. That's where I'm usually not so nice about licensees. Okay, usually like yeah. When I say oh hawa ke paise lete, at some point I'm just, dude, man, I'm in the wrong business. I need to create a chota me or something. The wrong business completely. And they can just mass produce chota me's that I've made of some sort. Or Red Wolf is a great name. Why don't you come up with a Red Fox? And we make an animation and get every boy to love it or some shit like that. Okay. But yeah, but they've been very supportive on the whole. That's the whole truth, and I really appreciate that. Amaya?
It's the same for you, Amaya?
Yeah, more or less, yeah. So I have not spoken to one, my landlords, two, the license owners, and three, like my vendors, like as much as I have over like the last couple of months. Some people have required more conversations than others, but more or less everyone has been pretty flexible in terms of extending payments, timelines, and things like that. Because at the end of the day, both of us, like it's a very like synergy based business. If we don't make money, they don't make money, and if we don't survive, they don't make any money at all.
Yeah.
So it does make sense for everyone to be understanding, and it's a genuine issue.
Yeah.
It's not like Sid said, someone is making something up, or it's a very small section of partners that have been affected. It's a genuine issue. People have been supportive, and I think everyone's just trying to be flexible and move on slowly.
Okay.
Well, I have to add something. Yesterday I was talking to one vendor, okay, and usually, I mean, I'm sure all of us know, at least the very Delhi lingo is कि market ठंडी है, okay. And this vendor replied, "Sir, अब तो हवा भी ठंडी होगी है, market ही नहीं है." I just completely cracked up. He's like, अब तो सब कुछ ही ठंडा है. I was like, dude, I cannot get more like versatile with my Hindi for these puns. अब तो हवा भी ठंडी होगी. Okay. So yeah, so.
You know, हवा ठंडी पे question ये है कि now that everything is unpredictable, every few months you kind of change your direction. At least every month you get a new update. You know, ideally, for example, we went under the massive lockdown and we were supposed to be on the lower side of things, but things are actually not even peaking; they're increasing rapidly right now, and cities are going back into lockdown. So, Amay, what is your strategy right now? How are you planning this financial year? Are you plotting it as you move? Is it just month by month, or what are some of the things that you've planned for the entire year?
So for us, at least, it is month on month. All the data that we've had as a business, like financials and any like sort of like business model we would have built, is completely in the toilet. Yeah. Like none of that data matters. None of those trends make sense anymore. May was completely different than June, and July is seemingly very different than June as well. So it's take it as it comes, you know, like there's so many things up in the air in terms of new stock coming in, the advertising landscape changing right now. Facebook is going, which is one of our biggest advertising channels, is going through its own issues where at least in the US, a lot of advertisers have pulled out for a month. And even from what I understand, a lot of brands in India have like completely decimated their budgets of what they want.
Yeah.
So that competition is pretty low right now. So that is affecting sales because a lot of our traffic depends on how social media does and whatnot. So I don't think anyone who says that they know what's going to happen in a couple of months knows what they're talking about. You have to take it as it comes. There's just too many balls up in the air.
No, I have something to add to that, Justin. Sure. I will tell you two things that I know for certain. Okay, and here I'm going to play the COVID card since fortunately for me, I'm the only one. And unfortunately for me also, is that while I was in the hospital, I had a lot of time on my hands and I spoke to a lot of doctors. Okay. And eventually the one guy who was very honest and straight up with me, and I don't think these facts get enough publicity as much as they should, was the guy who does my blood tests at home. Okay, I have this guy for many years. He comes home and he clearly told me, because I needed to get my COVID test done at home. I had 102 fever and stuff. And I'm like, sir, ho kya raha hai? And he told me clearly, sir, अब गवर्नमेंट ने सारे प्राइवेट लैब्स की टेस्टिंग बंद कर दी है. ठीक है, अब 2-4 ही गिने चुने लैब्स हैं, तो अभी जो टेस्टिंग हो रही है, that testing is only 1/10 of the possible testing. Yeah. So the real number of cases is at least 20x of what we are being told. Yeah. So, and that was the day it struck me like a bang. Okay, I'm like, dude, if this guy who's come to take my test in this PPE kit is telling me this, that means this shit is not ending for another year. It just can't, because forget beating the curve, we've still not peaked.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, considering the size and density, and especially with unlock everywhere. I think this is going to stay with us for years. I mean, the only thing that would probably help everyone is if there's some sort of if not a vaccine, but at least medication to control this, then everyone gets a little confident that, okay, if you get it, okay, we'll figure out how to get through it. It's not, there is a way of tackling it. Right now, no one has any way of tackling it. So that's the thing. And now there are many things about how it's airborne as well. So if you have air conditioning, that could be even more dangerous. So yeah, I mean, my two bits of experiences that there will be probably no live events this year, and it would be not prudent to actually congregate people together, especially when it's dangerous, right? So because
Bro, live events. My birthday was on 29 June. I had bought tickets to watch Cat Stevens live in Paris. I'd planned it all to go for this fancy trip, see some great retro music. And what did I do? I ended up blowing candles in my bedroom, okay, with a cake that mushkil se deliver hua. I'm like, kidhar Paris, kidhar Cat Stevens. And he was performing on the 29th. So I was like, oh my God, this is like my calling in life. And instead, it is quite something. Nothing, as we know, is what it is.
So
Yeah, I think the live entertainment industry is
yeah,
really going to have to rethink like their entire model, whether it's virtual events or I don't know how they're going to like make that happen. But it's a crazy time for like that space.
yeah. I mean, it's essentially shut. And there is no way. I mean, you can do digitally, which is what we're trying to do, but it's very
It's
limited.
not the same though, right?
Because I'm selling you, it's an experience. You can only do so much digitally. You can't, everyone can't have a VR headset and then they're entering a Comic Con. So, but we'll see. The San Diego Comic Con is going to happen. That's the biggest show which is
Oh
going
yeah.
which is going digital. Obviously, a large part of San Diego is all the panels, so they can easily go digital. So, but they're also adding a shopping experience, and let's see. So, I'm looking forward to that as well. So, by the time this panel airs, we would have experienced how that has been, and that might give us a lot of learnings on how to do live events, at least exhibitions, the ones that we run.
So to add on to that, I was very impressed with WWDC. Amaya, did you see that?
I
The
didn't
Apple
know.
event? Oh, you got to see that. Because usually they have a live event and Tim Cook comes and does his usual, selling expensive shit in style. And they did it fabulously in a digital way. It was like a full-on production. So Jatin, hint, check out WWDC. We might have Comic-Con DC happening in Delhi.
Hopefully, I will also have $100 billion in cash lying in my account, and then
It's all in the mind. You have it.
Atmanirbhar.
Atmanirbhar.
Let me go back a bit. Let me start about how did you guys start your businesses. So I have some idea about Sid, but I don't know about Amaya. Amaya, why don't you start? How did you guys start up Red Wolf?
So this is something that I personally wanted to do while I was still in college. I'm an engineer, by the way. Like that's my background. Most of the guys who own t-shirt companies in this country are engineers. I don't know what the connection is, but that just happens to be the case. Yeah. So it's just something that I wanted to do. Like personally, I could not find like good t-shirts in India at that point in time. Infruit was the only e-commerce brand that was like around, and e-commerce itself was very nascent. I think most people were just like still, we're talking about like end of 2011 right now. So this is when like the Railways website was like, like the top e-commerce platform around. And so I could not find good t-shirts, and like the brands like your Nikes and Reeboks were selling t-shirts at like a 800, 900 rupee price point, which for like a broke student is like a lot to ask for.
Yeah.
And so my sister happened to live in the US. So every time she would make her annual like US trip, I would like shop online, send some stuff to her place, and she would bring it back. So, and we were also like big pop culture band. Like I grew up like watching like, the TV shows and like the superheroes and whatnot. And it's just like it's a hole that I saw in the market at that point in time. And we just started catering it. So like we were one of the first few brands that actually started out doing this. There used to be a brand called Lazy Ninja who started it as well. Soul Store came along like maybe like a year later as well. So yeah, it was just like there was a gap in the market that we wanted to fill at like a good price point, and it just slowly started from there.
What's the thing behind the name Red Wolf?
So
Yeah, even I want to know that.
read our about us page. But so we originally started as like we wanted to create like a lifestyle brand. So which is why we don't have a name like the Geek Store or the Entertainment Store or something like that. It has like a very brand type name. But then suddenly like we figured we wanted to do like the pop culture part, which at that time was called Howl. And we had the Red Wolf part, which was like our own original designs, because we thought we figured that we have something to say and we wanted to make designs around it. And slowly we figured that the money is coming from the pop culture side of things. So we had to pivot and because that's like where the reality of it was. And there were some interesting designs and artists out there which were just not there was a market for it in India and they were not getting an outlet for that. So we started working with a lot of talented international designers from the States, many countries in Europe, from Brazil. And so we started putting out those designs in India, and then we slowly moved to the licensing space, and which is where we're at.
Okay. Sid, how about you?
Okay, so according to Amaya's About Us, but in all seriousness, we like wolves. We like the mythology behind them, that they run in packs. There's a sense of brotherhood and community, and they all look out for each other. Gives us the warm fuzzies. There you go, my man. Warm fuzzies. I'm going to send you some Dexter's Laboratory for that.
I stand by every single word on that page.
Okay, then warm fuzzies.
What were your warm fuzzies, man? How did you start?
Bro, I started just by absolute chance. It was literally full marks to you guys for marketing. I back in the day, this is 2014, I started out by trying to make my own comic strip, which was called MC Sid Raz, by my own name, because I'm also part of the entertainment scene. And I was driving the car and there were non-stop ads, radio ads of Comic-Con coming, and I'm like, holy shit, I should do something at Comic-Con. So 2015 was the first Comic-Con that I landed up at, and I remember through a friend, I found out somebody and I got an artist table, and I was categorically told, you can't sell anything at an artist table. I'm like, I don't think anybody wants to buy my comic. So I'm not sure. I think we're on the same page.
This is not a problem.
Yeah, nobody knows shit. Okay. So what I did was I was trying to promote this comic, and I had very limited knowledge of branding and, online stuff. So I landed up at that place with 100 posters and 100 caps and 100 t-shirts and 50 t-shirts, something like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to play a game. Whoever gives me their email address so I can email them my comic, I will give them a freebie. So the minute I put up the signed free t-shirts, dude, there was absolute Armageddon on my artist table. Okay, there was every single person coming there. I remember back then, the staff came and they're like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you giving free t-shirts? Everybody's selling t-shirts. I'm like, oh, because nobody knows me. And I think in 1 hour, all the t-shirts were given away for free. And then nobody gave two hoots about me for the next 3 days. They were like, okay, यहाँ पे free t-shirt मिल रही थी. अब chapter close हो गया है. Okay.
And that's another thing, right? There's something about the t-shirt.
Yeah.
You see it at any event, people just get crazy about the idea of getting your hands on it and taking it home.
Yeah. A t-shirt.
Another reason why we started,
Yeah. But then, I'll tell you how I came up with the idea. What happened was I roamed around Comic-Con and I was looking at every stall and I realized all the posters that everybody was selling were images from the internet. Okay, I mean, Jatin, the truth's the truth. Okay, so I said, back then. So I went because I'm like, I've printed this out. This is on my wall. I've printed this out. This is on my wall. I said, dude, I could sell these very posters. ये 10 रुपए का poster 100 रुपए में बेच रहे हैं. हो क्या रहा है इधर? Okay. And that's how it all began, bro. At least you were selling t-shirts. I looked at my 10x margin and said, ये बेचना ठीक है. ये कर सकते हैं. Okay. So at the next Comic-Con, which was right after that, the following year. So this was 2014, I think. 15 is when I put up a stall and I was trying to sell all these designs I had from the internet. And of course, one Comic-Con later, I was visited by a bunch of licensees in my office saying, "Beta, aap kar kya rahe ho?" So it's been a fun journey. That's basically how I started.
And then you renamed and rebranded as Epic Stuff.
Yeah, as Epic Stuff. So recently we've rebranded everything as Epic Stuff. And because eventually people were like, I mean, genuinely, ये मकसद क्या है? ये मकसद क्या? आप burger बेचते हो? I'm not, the amount of people who've told me आप burger बेचते हो, not even funny. Okay, and so then we said.
So yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah. So then we decided, we took a conscientious call. We need to rename it to make it sound a little bit more like, the wolf pack with the mythology behind it that gives warm fuzzies. So Epic Stuff gives people some sort of warm fuzzies. So let's hope so.
So, you were talking about what sells and the margins and all, and one of the things you mentioned is t-shirts. Obviously, everyone loves t-shirts. I think it's also the easiest thing for someone to buy if they're really not into it because it's clothing, apparel. It's a t-shirt. Usually, it's $500, and you can still show off your geekiness without it being too much of an investment for you. Like buying a toy means that well, you're really into it, and that's a commitment. And a lot of people in India obviously come to fandoms from the movies and TV shows. They're not everyone's a hardcore fan. I want to get an idea from you guys, some insights about depending on the licenses that you own. Last year, especially, what sells, what franchisees really work with Indians. Obviously, T-shirts we know sell, but what other products you feel really sell, and anything interesting that you found, that you while your retailing experience, not just at our Comic Con, but online as well.
Can I take this one?
Yeah, you
Amaya,
start off.
first.
Start off.
I can tell you two things that blew my mind. Okay, number one, Tanisha, she runs EFG and she sells geek jewelry.
Yeah.
That is a category in my wildest dreams. Maybe because I'm a guy, I could not have expected, and it does phenomenally. Because I buy a lot of stuff from her, and we try and sell it, and all sorts of things. That is something that I was really surprised. And this is more not. I could not imagine that this category could exist. It's so far beyond, common sense. Like I can get like a Harry Potter wand would sell. Yes, duh, it's Harry Potter. It's like it's a collectible and things. But jewelry and Wonder Woman earrings. I'm just looking at this. Also, maybe because I'm a guy, so it takes a little bit of getting used to. But that was something I was very impressed with. That was the one thing in my wildest dreams I could not have thought of. I don't know if Amaya could have, but I'm not that creative, and I think I'm pretty creative.
And what franchisees did you see a lot of interest in last year, especially, or at least the last 2 years?
I'll tell you what. So I'll tell you what's really growing is anime. The anime scene. I mean, see, because DC, Marvel, and all have been there for eons, and Hasbro and the regular stuff has always been there in one form or another. Whether you take T-shirts or you take apparel or you take toys, we've got big players, Fun School, Hasbro. So that has sort of been permeated very well. But anime is really growing. And last year, this dude Jatin from Hyderabad had come, who was selling those hand-painted shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, that one shoe was for 20,000. I just didn't have the heart to buy it. But if it was 10, I would have bought it there and then.
20,000.
20,
I didn't
20, 20 or to 20,000. I'm in touch with him. I forget his name right now. Okay, but that shoe, यार मतलब I love shoes. Okay, B वो जूता देखकर ना मतलब जन्नत याद आ गई. उससे सुंदर जूता मैंने लाइफ में नहीं देखा हुआ. लेकिन वो कैनवस का था, तो कैनवस के जूते पे 20,000. देखो मैं लुई वुइटन वाला नहीं हूँ. ठीक है, मैं कैनवस के जूते पे इतने पैसे नहीं खर्च कर सकता.
But in terms of franchises that you have licenses for, what sells the most again and again? Like it's a what is the
so I'll tell you what, everything sells in some capacity or the other, but because it's fan merch. Okay, everybody is a fan. But two things that even Amaya will agree with me, and we've learned over the years, and these are, one hurts me a lot, and one is a strange fact of life, is Star Wars does not sell in India.
Yeah.
Okay. There are no Star Wars fans for whatever reason. I feel, and maybe that's just the way, because of the way cable TV has been in India, because even I'm a Star Trek fan. I know everything about Star Trek. I know Spock, I know Captain Kirk, I've watched it all. Star Wars was never my thing, is one. And secondly, Superman isn't that big, and I'm a huge Superman fan because my name also starts with S, and I'm just obsessed with it. So strangely, and I think it's also jinxed, since the originals, there's not been a super hit Superman movie. So I can clearly tell you that Superman not selling very well. On the contrary, Batman sells like 10x to one Superman, or maybe even 20x. Maybe because the Dark Knight trilogy did so very well. So we're very clear that this works and this doesn't work in India. And not that, I mean, I have told the licensees, IP holders a bunch of times that, you guys need to make a good Superman movie, because you own the oldest, biggest franchise in the world. How can you not be, kings of the space? Like Marvel went bankrupt, dude, and now they own the place. Like, what is going on here, Warner Brothers? Get your shit together. Like, seriously.
But that's the thing, right? It is the representation, especially on the big screen, because let's be honest, like comics is not a huge industry
No, no,
in
no.
India.
Comics is over. Yeah, yeah.
Very
Only
few people
geeks like
grew
you and
up.
me buy their designs.
Exactly. So it is the representation on the big screen that matters. And I don't think India grew up on a Star Wars, though, like on a generational basis, like the way they did in the US.
It was before a lot of the things blew up. Like it was a time before, and the new movies didn't really sell. I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I didn't like the new movies. In fact, I got into a fight at the Last Jedi screening, and walked out of it, and then decided I will not buy anything Star Wars for 2 years, and then finally I saw something and then I bought it. But yeah, but
You might argue that the Marvel franchise, I'm sorry to interrupt, that the Marvel franchise that they've put out like these last 20, 21 movies has been this generation Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's
just
very
been
well
a
said.
Connected like universe across all these movies, and like everyone knows that Disney merchandise and Marvel specifically sells like hotcakes.
I mean, how many franchises do you have in your product line? Like, how many would there be right now?
So I don't have a specific number, but we represent all of like the big brands right now.
So how many IPs would there be ballpark? Maybe 50?
So if you look at it in terms of characters, because Marvel has one umbrella which has like 20, 30
characters and movies and TV shows. I'm just overall, like, if you want.
Sure, like 50 to 80, I think is a safe.
Okay. And what are the characters or the TV shows maybe that just sell like are like the bread and butter that always they're always moving?
So just to give a call back to your previous question, like the last year was like the year of Marvel.
Okay.
Just because Endgame was such a tentpole,
Hands down.
So that Marvel hype, like when the movie came out, I'm guessing it was April or something like that.
Yeah.
Gangbusters, did really well. And so last year was pretty much like the year of Marvel and Disney for us, because despite the hate for like the Star Wars movie, there was like a bit of a spike in December. Yeah. And it was also like the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And so those were our marquee properties like for the previous year, which like worked out well. But if you had to ask like what properties are like doing well on an evergreen basis, I would have to say something like an Iron Man and a Captain America.
Okay.
Batman, we just picked up the Warner Brothers portfolio a month before the lockdown started, which is unfortunate timing. And so we have seen a lot of interest in Batman. Friends is one of those properties that people go crazy about. Yeah. So we're trying to like cater to that demand. But yeah, those are the ones which like did really well for us.
The two shows that one show that obviously is always there is Friends, and it's generations, like it's older people from my age who probably saw it on TV as it aired, and now people are watching it. And then the other that was really doing well was Game of Thrones till the final season, and then there was no interest. Like after that, no one was like reminiscing about it as much.
I have a heartbreaking experience with Game of Thrones.
No, but can I add something to that, Jatin? Because Amaya and I have shared the license of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And Breaking Bad, even after it ended for a good 3, 4, 5 years, even today has that cult following, which I feel Game of Thrones just died all of a sudden.
I think because the finale basically pissed off so many people that like you don't want to talk about it, right? But Breaking Bad, I also remember a lot of people got onto it at the end, at the last season, because suddenly everyone's talking about it, and now that you can just binge watch it together at any point in time, obviously people like it.
So we've had Game of Thrones since 2016, and so it's not just the last season. Like historically, you can see that, like say the month leading up to the season, the month of the season, and a little peak like that runs off of it are the only times Game of Thrones like did well. Okay. Otherwise, it was just a very thanda property.
Thanda. I like it. We're getting back to that. Thandi ho gayi thi hawa. Thandi.
Okay, so quick question. What was the most something that some franchisee or character that you really didn't think would work in India, or at least didn't think had a following that sold? What was that?
For us, it was Harry Potter for one.
Okay.
Okay, Harry Potter does quite well for us, and the reason I mean I'll tell you why, because when we took up the license, all the movies were over. It was all done and dusted, and
Yeah.
but that's when we realized, and this is sort of my theory on the topic, is that a lot of books which are converted into movies per se or shows like Game of Thrones, some of them work out. Like Sherlock is another great example. Though none of us have the license, we all sell fan art of it. Sherlock still has a decent
Yeah.
lukewarm, because Sherlock really became a bit of a catchphrase. Harry Potter got over so long back, we really didn't think anything was going to happen. Lord of the Rings on the same side, I don't know, Amaya, if you feel Lord of the Rings has any teeth in it, but I was very surprised that Harry Potter, after all the movies are done, everything is done, there still was a lot of fan following. So that really proves that people are also fans of the books,
Yeah.
which, okay, it's a theory because it doesn't work in terms of Game of Thrones. But maybe for Lord of the Rings, it's still a little more concurrent because there were just 3 movies, unlike Harry Potter that had 8.
What about you, Amaya? Anything which surprised you? Any franchisee or character?
So for us, I think Peanuts was like a good, like a very positive surprise. Like we knew it would do well because it's a very cute character. It's been in Indian newspapers for like a very long time. So that connect was always there. But like I thought it would be like a decent property. It's not the sexiest property in the world where there's a movie coming out or like, a new vertical of that brand coming out like every year or every 2 years. But it's always done well. There's a very funny story, like our contact at Viacom, who we licensed it from, once told us that one of the retailers that they sell to told them that I really like Snoopy, ek kutta bitta. A very crude way of putting it, but like there's a lot of legs to it. And so that has worked well for us. And we just picked up Garfield, so hopefully Billy will do just as well.
All right. Yes, the Kutta Billy business, brother. The Kutta Billy business.
Back in 2014 at our Delhi show, we got the Peanuts Museum to do a live exhibit at the show.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But it was very, we got mixed reviews for it. Because obviously they weren't going to send in any artifacts. They basically, it's a visual show. So you just go through it and it's like a timeline of the making and some unique art pieces and stuff that you're printed on. But but people knew what it was. I mean, that's the one thing that everyone knew Snoopy. Like, they're like,
I think, yeah, dude, Snoopy's been in the TOI my entire life.
Yeah.
So, so there is that recall and everybody reads the TOI. I can't speak about other papers. I don't know. So it's totally, you cannot get more branding than that ever. Oh, I'll tell you another thing that I am very, now that I'm on the topic of, IPs, one IP that I wish had a lot more leeway that I'm a huge fan of, and Satish and I have discussed this numerable times, is Tintin.
Yeah.
If Tintin would license shit out, I feel Tintin is one of those perfect encyclopedia kind of characters who's teaching you stuff.
Yeah, Tintin and Asterix are things that people still grow up on, but the Tintin bit is expensive though, because the action figures and everything are on the expensive side. Yeah,
and even Asterix is also there, but I just feel these two properties.
Calvin and Hobbes is another property, but I believe the artist himself did not want to get into the merchandising space.
He's never gonna let you do that.
Yeah. But these are, and see, we're all geeks. I love this stuff. People like Hussein and Raza. I like, Archies. Okay, I think it's good fun, and I love it. It's pop culture. This is what is our calling.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised these things don't pick up as much. And Archies is another one. So Archies, Tintin, Asterix, Oblique. Some of these are the characters that if you gave me a room full of these T-shirts, hint, Amaya, in 7XL, 50,000 rupees worth of sales might happen next year. This year, you might have to give it on credit.
Okay, that translates to 5%, 5,000 rupees in royalty. So I don't think that's driving anyone's business, dude.
Coming to a lot of the movies are probably going to get delayed and not released. That means the new IPs that might be there are from all the OTT platforms, because that's still going on. So as fans and as businessmen, what have you been consuming the past few months that you see that you think you should sell merchandise off and or already are selling?
So I'll tell you what my take is. I've been consuming a lot of this because I'm a Netflix junkie. Like I've seen everything on Netflix. You can name it and I've seen it. And I don't know whether a lot of these shows, because I experimented with some of this, and this is something that we regularly do. We just take out posters, whatever the IMDb artwork of these TV shows is, not proper artwork, but we just test it out. So I tried Blacklist, that I thought was a fun Indianish show that could be a hit, but we didn't have any success with it. Riverdale, I thought, has a lot of potential because of the whole Archie's background, that we tried some posters. The inkling wasn't very big on that as well. So we tried some of these. These are slightly older shows, but they've really come of age now. Usually it takes 3-4 seasons for a show to really start becoming something people would want to buy merch for.
Yeah.
And
I actually disagree with that because look at something like a Stranger Things.
Yeah,
was
so I
like
was
an
coming to
instant
Stranger
hit
Things.
from the first
Yeah.
season,
I think that's because Amaya, Stranger Things also is an old book which is sort of being remade and stuff like that, or it's an old series also. There's some background to Stranger Things. I'm not
think
exactly
it's
certain.
very inspired by like the old Steven Spielberg movies.
Very 80s feel to it, and obviously now there were 2 seasons, and obviously there was a hype around it as well, right?
Yeah.
So Stranger Things is definitely something Amaya and I both agree has been a hit merch wise.
Yeah.
So quick question though. What do you think drives people? Do you think Indians are going by the hype around a property, then they watch it and then they want the license? Or is there, a true fandom around certain things? Like Stranger Things was hyped up and it was big, but The Blacklist isn't a big show in India. Like it's not showcased as a big property, and it's been there for a while though. So what do you think? What drives their interest in merchandise for new stuff? Like what do you think it is? It's the hype?
So in India, it's purely it's the old school hype of word of mouth. Okay, that's it. That's the only thing. Because a lot of people who are watching it, because in India, eventually people want to buy Gucci and Armani because वो फिर पैसा दिखता है. 500 रुपए की. See, the definition of cool is very quasi in India. People aren't really, we've not figured ourselves out. I think maybe 25 years from now, when we have kids, our kids will be able to define cool in a very more urbanistic American manner, which is more novio than where things are right now. Because abhi in India, Gucci and LV is still the status symbol and what works. But pop culture is now starting to define a very corporate culture. Because in the corporate culture, this is my experience of what I've seen, and when I discuss it with corporates and stuff, they're like, if you go there dressed in Burberry from top to bottom, your boss might get offended that you are wearing something more expensive than him. Yeah. But if you go the cool way and you wear like a fancy Mickey Mouse t-shirt or a Minnie Mouse dress, then it's cool and it's fun. So nobody's getting offended. So this was a very interesting analogy that one corporate explained to me, which I think is working, where, you don't want to show off, but because you don't want to piss off the higher ups, but you want to be cool and different. So different is catching on, but it's not like a social statement. It's still you know what I mean? It's not like a night party out social statement. You won't wear, some people in anywhere abroad in the US, or you'd wear a Mickey t-shirt and go to a nightclub, but in India you'd still bling out some
basically
jazz.
What you're trying to put across is that pop culture is moving into a space eventually where it'll define the coolness of expressing yourself, not just because you're into that show, but you can step out and wear it, and it's
so to add on to that, even H&M and Zara have been regularly dilly-dallying with Disney versions of things and Star Wars, which they make it very stylish. And so this is the IP coming in cahoots with these bigger brands to sort of uplift everything on that level, but it's still like a 2,000 rupee t-shirt. It's not a 20,000 rupee t-shirt. So it's still, that value proposition is just going up that much, where I feel that much in India is a great space to be. If you can create that sort of a marketplace, it's a huge market.
Amaya, what about you?
So like to go back to like the OTT thing, we've moved into a space right now where binging has become like the norm.
Yeah.
So what happens is something like a Netflix or a Prime might drop a season of a show. You will watch the whole thing over a weekend, and just consume it and then sort of forget about it, move on to the next thing.
Fair enough.
Whereas earlier, like I'm in my early 30s, and so you would have to wait a week to watch each episode, and between episodes you would discuss it on like online forums.
Yeah.
Which I think Game of Thrones is a great example of in the earlier years, where you would watch a season, you would watch an episode, and you'd have to you'd talk about all these theories and what might happen, that little detail that the director may have added.
There's a like a mystery to it as well.
There's a mystery to it, and there's no time to do it right now because I'm watching 8 to 13 episodes back to back, and I am done with it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. I just want to ask my friends what's the next show that I need to consume. So I think that is kind of taken away from the mystique or the detail-oriented love that a geek might have for something like that.
Yeah.
So I think which is why it's very rare for a show like a Stranger Things or a Sacred Games when it first came out, where that merch hype comes into play. Whereas I would not buy a shirt for any random series that Netflix might drop. So I think that has been. I think there's something to that thought.
Okay.
But Sacred Games, I'm saying Stranger Things, I was really surprised because it's an awesome show, but the way that caught on in terms of merch, in India and everywhere, the way it caught on in terms of merch, that's really been a breakout kind of property for everybody. Yeah. Everybody can look at it and say, yeah, this was not expected because there's so many of these thriller, scary kind of horror shows on TV, dark, a bunch of them, But Stranger Things is, and they've kept up the quality. So I think there is something. It could be the next Game of Thrones, give or take. Maya, I think you'd agree.
Sure. The next Game of Thrones show might be the next Game of Thrones. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Stranger Things definitely has legs to it for sure.
Coming to the last question, just a quick bite from each of you. What's the one IP or the character that you personally buy a lot and are always looking out for in terms of merchandise? Sid?
Let me just put it out there. Everything is Superman. There is Superman here. There is a Superman there on my curtain. If I flip it, there are 5 Superman cushions over there. Maya, Superman 7XL, just one character, 50,000 rupees sale. I'm still putting it out there, but on credit. Next year I'll pay you. This year I can't even pay the license fees.
What about you, Amaya?
It's very hard for me to pick a property because whatever the next licenses that we're buying, that's the current flavor of the season.
Let me help you out. Just say Superman.
But for you,
it's very simple. It's very simple.
But for you personally,
even personally for me, sure. So I think I still really I'm repping a Star Wars T-shirt right now.
Oh my God!
I really love the artwork of Star Wars.
Turncoat.
As a Disney licensee, so we have access to all of the style guides, right?
Yeah.
We've got some insane art.
Yeah, totally.
From the vintage collection from the 70s and the 80s. It's just this iconic art to go. But it's sad that people don't watch the movies, but I really like Star Wars, the art behind it, rather than what you might think of the movies. So.
Perfect. Thank you both. This was really interesting. I hope you guys stay safe and best of luck for the rest of the year. And fingers crossed that everyone's cash flows survive.
No. All will be well, and we are all looking forward to Comic-Con, Jatin. The first thing, UD called me when COVID happened. He's like, "ये Comic-Con के पहले खत्म हो जाएगा, हम माल कैसे बेचेंगे?" I'm just like, dude, तू कहाँ तक की सोच रहा है? जिंदा रह ले पहले. Comic-Con तक खत्म हो जाएगा.
We're hoping. We're hopefully we'll get to do the show. I'm a very I don't like the whole idea of everything being digital because I don't think everything can be. So I would rather have an actual show than try and put together something digital. But let's see. Fingers crossed.
If you don't mind me asking, what are some of the conversations that you guys are having about the show though?
So we have our venues are completely flexible. They know for a fact that dates might be moved around. That means we might push the shows ahead because it all depends on the on-ground situation. The other factor is maybe they might say, okay, mass events are allowed, but people might not be comfortable going for them. So then it becomes a experience where in India things can go off in a second. Like you guys both experienced what happened in Delhi last year, where there was a protest at anywhere in Delhi. There was a hype around it, so it led to crash and footfalls. So this is even more serious. So so we'll have to take a call on how to bring it back and where to start off. But I think for now it's safe to say that it might the dates might be pushed ahead, obviously, and then depending on whenever it is safe to do this, we'll be waiting. My personal gut feeling is that everything is hampered, right? So no one's experiencing even a coffee shop right now properly. So the moment there is this mental piece of, okay, even if it happens, I know how to tackle it, whether it's a medication or vaccine or something, people are going to go out in droves. Like people are going to go out, want to just not even stay at home. They're going to they will want to be out. At that point in time, everyone will want to capitalize on it, and that is going to happen eventually. I mean, it only is whether it is 6 months or 9 or 12, that time will tell, but that is going to happen. I think whenever the events can come back, they're going to come back in a massive way. I think people are going to go crazy.
We love you, Comic-Con. We want you back. ASAP.
Great. Thank you, guys. It was great chatting with you. I'll see you soon at a Comic-Con.
For sure.
Okay. Thank you. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Thanks for having us.
And that was Ameya Thakur from Red Bulls and Siddharth Sood from Epic Stuff. You can check out the brand handles on the tags with the video. And that was our panel, The Business of Pop Culture in Times of COVID. It was really interesting for me. I hope you found it interesting as well. And we would love to know what franchisee or character that you collect. Please do tell us in the comments below and tell us why. And please scroll through the playlist and check out all the other curated panels and also the interactions with our Comic-Con award winners. This was The Business of Pop Culture in Times of COVID at the Comic-Con India Pop Culture Forum 2020, the digital edition, brought to you by Maruti Suzuki Arena. Stay home, stay safe.
The new Vitara Brezza with a powerful 1.5-liter petrol engine.
Wow! Congrats, Papa! See? I also want stars.
Wishes are like little stars drifting away into the sky. I'll make you smile. I'll make you shine. Your every
Stars!
desire.
See every desire come true with the new Desire.